Hello Year 9s and welcome back to Science. We're going to continue on with disease today with lesson 4, viruses. Alright, so your success criteria are to describe the structure of a virus and give examples of viral diseases, and secondly to draw a general labeled picture of the coronavirus. You should also be able to draw a general, just a basic virus structure. So what is a virus? We have briefly talked about it last lesson in lesson 3, but basically a virus, it is not living, and therefore we call it a non-cellular pathogen. The reason why it is not considered living is because it cannot reproduce on its own. It cannot divide and make copies of itself without living in a different organism. Viruses are too small to be seen by the naked eye. So they're microbes, they're microorganisms like bacteria. And so we need very powerful microscopes to be able to see them. And now this diagram shows two different examples of viruses. You can see that they look quite different. However, their basic components are the same. So again, more different shapes of viruses. You've got the alien looking one, the sphere, polyhedral, and then a helical. They all come in different shapes and sizes, and they all they can also infect different hosts as well. So some might only infect humans, some might only infect bats, and others might infect both, depending on the virus and its structure. Okay, viral structure. You should know this. This is an important slide. So viruses consist of genetic material, DNA or RNA, surrounded by a protective coat of protein. Now, you've probably heard of DNA before, but you might not have heard of RNA. Now, RNA is just a modified version of DNA, slightly different, same sort of thing. It carries all the information of the cell. You'll learn about RNA more in Year 10 Science, so all you need to know is that there is genetic material in every virus, and it can be DNA or RNA. So in this diagram here, this blue swirl, that is the genetic material, the DNA or RNA. It is surrounded by a protective coat of protein, in this case the yellow ovals. Some viruses also have an extra layer on the outside called an envelope, and it's made out of fats. And here we have a 3D representation of a virus with all the components. Again, see if you can spot them. Okay, now we have seen this funny looking alien virus. It's called a bacteriophage. It infects bacteria, so it's a virus for bacterias. And again, even though it looks so different, it has those basic components. It's got the nucleic acid, the genetic material, this blue swirl here. It's got a protein coat, the blue shape around the genetic material. It does not have an envelope though. Here we've got a spherical looking virus, the influenza virus actually, and we've got the genetic material, in this case RNA as opposed to DNA. We've got the protein coat on the outside, and this one actually has that third layer, that membrane envelope made of fats, and we can see that there's lots of spikes coming out of it. Okay, so that's the structure of a virus, but how do they actually infect different organisms? So we know that viruses can't multiply, they can't reproduce on their own. That's why they're called non-cellular or non-living. So what they do is they actually invade a host cell and take over its machinery. So let me give you an example. Let's say I were to, someone coughed on me and they transferred the influenza virus into me, and it went into my throat cells. Now, the virus is now inside my throat cell, and it actually kind of takes over my throat cell and tricks my throat cell into making millions of new examples of the influenza virus, the flu virus. In other words, I love this phrase, it's a bit scary, but they turn the host cell, like my throat cell, into a virus-making factory. I love that description. Cells of the mucous membranes, we've already talked about this last week. Can you remember what they are? That's right. It's things like the nose, the mouth, the eyes, your lungs, your digestive tract. They are all the mucus. They're made up of mucous membranes, and they're very susceptible to pathogens such as virus attacks because they are not covered with skin. Your mouth isn't covered in skin inside, neither is your nose or your eyes. So it's very easy for viruses to get in, and that's how they like to get into to humans. All right, year 9s, I want you to now pause my video and watch this video 1. The link is in the description box. It shows you how this works. It's very, very good. Thanks, year 9s. Hope that was interesting. Now, this is an extension video for those of you who would like some more details on how the structure, function, and examples of viruses. So it's an extension video only if you are interested. Again, the link is in the description box, so you may pause my video and watch this video. Otherwise, continue on. All right, welcome back, year 9s. Hope that was interesting. So we've had a look at different shapes of viruses, and this slide shows you all the different shapes that some common viruses have. You've probably heard of HIV, which causes AIDS. You might have heard of hepatitis B, a liver disease. You've probably heard of Ebola. There was an outbreak a few years ago. And can you see that HIV and hepatitis B, they look sort of similar, so does influenza. They're all that spherical shape. But then the Ebola virus looks completely different. It looks like a snake. You've also got the alien-looking virus, the bacteriophage, one of my favorites, and then the adenovirus, which is a polyhedral shape. So some common viral diseases, you've probably heard of measles, you might have heard of smallpox, it's eradicated now in Australia. Chickenpox, you've probably all had that when you were younger. The common cold as well. It's different to the flu, but it's still caused by a virus. Mumps, herpes and warts can also be caused by viruses. But the virus of the hour is COVID-19. COVID-19, that is why you're watching this video right now and not at school. Okay, so COVID-19 is the disease that is taking over the world right now, but the name of the virus that causes the disease is actually SARS-CoV-2, which stands for Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus 2. But that's very long and it's hard to say, so people usually just refer to COVID-19 as the disease or coronavirus. But coronavirus is a group of viruses, including this virus, so it's not as specific as SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19. Okay, pause my video, look at this diagram and see if you can identify the components of viruses that we've been talking about. Awesome. So this virus has 3 components. In blue, you've got the genetic material, in this case RNA. This virus also has an envelope made of fats, the outermost layer. And inside that envelope, you've got these yellow or orange spikes. They are protein spikes. And when you look at this virus under a microscope, you'll see that these spikes actually look like crowns. And that's why this group of viruses, which all have these crown-like spikes, are called coronavirus, because corona is Latin for crown. Okay, so we can see that COVID-19, yes, it's taking over the world right now. We're in a pandemic, which we're going to learn about in a few lessons, but the structure is just like all the other viruses we've been learning about. So now, video 3 time. I want you to pause my video and watch video 3. The link is in the description box. It's very interesting. All right, year 9s, welcome back. I hope you found that interesting. There's a ton of great videos on COVID-19 right now, of course, because it's so topical. So feel free to have a look through YouTube. And I've got some more as well if you want. Okay, now it's time for you to do some work. In your notebooks, there are 4 questions for you to answer, and you will be uploading your work into the assignments tab of our Teams page. Once you have finished that, there's an Education Perfect module for you to do, which kind of rehashes the info, but also has some great questions embedded in it. Another Year 9 science teacher has also made a Quizlet for you to practice your terminology, because in biology, which this is a topic of biology, there's a lot of terminology to learn. So Quizlets are a great way to learn them. Now, this Quizlet does cover the whole topic, so you won't know all of the words, but it's a good starting point. So if there's any words you don't know right now, just skip over them, but you do know quite a few already. Just before you go, I want to explain that the last few slides in the PowerPoint introduce to you a few different viruses. Feel free to read through them and do any research into any virus that interests you. So I'll just quickly flick through. All right, it's a bit of a preview. Thank you, Year 9s. Hope that was interesting. And yeah, go for it, do your work.